Bent Bird starts with the launch of Apollo 24, finally heading up to relieve Baldwin, lone American astronaut on the moon who has learned his son has irreversible brain damage. He needs all the relief he can get. Of course, for Deke, this is the fulfillment of a decade-long dream he'd likely given up on long ago, and now he's not only going into space, but to the moon.
5 seconds to ignition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
Damn it. Someone go pour some heat in the tank while I try pumping the gas.
Well, we're not dead.
And that's something. No offense, Harry, but with all the character investment, you're the red shirt here. If a facehugger gets on board, it's going for your face. After the titles, we pick up with Karen, having just bought the clothes for when Shane is laid to rest. But Tracy insists on actually delivering them to the funeral home. Training be damned. But more arrive, and Karen can't take being comforted right now. She just can't. In fact, she crawls into bed to go back to sleep, doing everything short of the fake honk shoo snoring to get them to go away. Tracy explains Karen's not supposed to entertain. They're here to provide her with support if she needs it, and possibly weed if Wayne is part of the group. As for Ed, the only one who might come over are the Russians, and he's not up for that kind of company. Apollo 24 works on trying to figure out why they're stalled. Deke insists that they have to sort this out before Ed flips out. Even a disciplined astronaut can only take so much before he snaps. The problem is a board inside the computer, so the plan is that Molly's mission is being reassigned. Rendezvous with Apollo 24 and install a new computer in the rocket so it can get on its way. The NASA head also asks why they don't just send the crew to the moon instead of fixing the rocket that's up there. So they explain to him, and by extension the audience, this mission was always intended for Earth orbit. It's not powerful enough to get them all the way to the moon. Essentially, we got an e-scooter. We can run a jack and spare tire out to you, but we're not riding all the way to Disneyland on it. Meanwhile, Aleda's pop finds the letter when he was changing the sheets, and when he asks why she's ready to throw away all that they'd sacrificed for, she says she doesn't want to leave her friends. She lectures him about what life in America is. And he's like, yeah, my pyromaniac horny child, you're the expert on America, not me. And he grounds her ass. As for Danielle, she finds Gordo in a bar, but surprisingly, he's drinking ginger ale and not regular ale. He's still seeing a psychiatrist and has decided he wants to tell the truth about what happened, that Danielle was the hero and not him. Except if he tells the truth, Danielle may look like the hero, but she'll almost certainly be grounded. As in not being able to go into space, not like what happened to Aleda. At the Baldwin residence, Deke's wife brings Karen some cornbread to get something in her, then asks her to clean up and come out. But Karen just wants to curl up in here and be left alone. Ed is coping by making a memorial to his son on the moon, his name and a big pile of moon rocks. Tracy is being a superhero during all this, supporting Karen, trying to help Danny, supporting Gordo's therapy, and preparing to go into outer space to repair a Saturn V rocket. If I cook dinner and go to the bank, I need a nap. Meanwhile, the feds are now looking into Aleda's father. They figured out he entered the country illegally because of his stolen social security number. The feds want to know if he got it from a KGB agent in Mexico City.
I don't know him.
Seems he spoke with Lee Harvey Oswald, among others.
And we have it on good authority that he's keeping Hitler's brain alive in a jar. Apparently the feds arrested someone passing secrets onto the Ruskies and named this poor schmuck as an accomplice. He has all the crap that he's pulled out of the trash for Aleda, but he doesn't want to risk her getting roped into this by explaining that it was meant for her, so he's arrested, which is bad news if that Lee Harvey Oswald thing is actually true. Also having a bad week is the president, who is doing so poorly between the sex scandals and the series of space screw-ups, he not only might not be re-elected, he might not even have the support of his own party. For non-American viewers, that is very uncommon. In the majority of cases, a sitting president may be challenged by others in their party, but rarely do they lose. In the exceptions, it's almost always a case where they entered the office through the death of the elected president. They were VPs who then became presidency. So obviously they faced an uphill climb. They were put on the ticket without the established support base of the president, and so lacked the needed alliances within the party. Like Chester A. Arthur, who took over after Garfield was assassinated, he didn't have a support base, and between that and health issues realized he was never going to get a nomination for a second term. These elevated VPs also inherit the political and policy challenges of the men that they were replacing. Kennedy, for instance, breathed new life into Eisenhower's waning advisor and aid support for South Vietnam, and so Lyndon Johnson chose to escalate things into offensive operations and what we consider to be the Vietnam War, which caused such a backlash he realized he wasn't going to win re-election. But someone like Ted Kennedy's situation, you have to go all the way back to pre-Civil War presidents who handled the slavery abolitionist political challenges like Laurel and Hardy in order to find someone elected to the office but doomed from ever getting nominated again. But obviously the scene is really about Karen, who is struggling with even the idea of going out where all the other wives are. And her head's screwed with when Danny comes out of Shane's bedroom, allowing her to no doubt briefly wonder if it had all just been a bad dream. But Danny was just returning Shane's Pinewood Derby car.
Please don't summon Mom.
No, of course, it's fine.
Yeah, Karen is like the embodiment of that dog in the fire saying "this is fine" meme. But Danny admits that the idea that Shane led him into trouble wasn't true, and at that, well, there's only one place she wants to be right now.
Karen, what are you doing here?
And much more importantly, did you bring any Fritos? After giving her a toke, he talks about his time in medical school. He was supposed to follow in his father's footsteps, but instead attended his oral exam on organic chemistry while peaking on LSD, for which he was expelled and disowned, preventing him from being able to legitimately call himself Dr. Feelgood. Last time I mentioned the crack in the wall of her psyche that she tries in vain to keep up, but now with Shane dead, it has collapsed. And while she tells Wayne she has no idea who her closest friends actually are, he notes it's more likely she has no idea who she is anymore. That's what she's struggling with. What Ed's struggling with is... frickin' Zygonauts. Well, Ed waits, and soon the rescue returns from their moon mine and clearly takes the rock hammer to use as a weapon against Ed. So Ed decides to just let him pass. He could have shoulder-checked the guy over the lip of the crater. Like I said before, a fall that far, even on the moon, would be fatal. But Ed probably doesn't want to be the first man to kill on the moon. That's not a good first. That's a bad first. That's like first man to poop in my suit without a diaper. And first astronaut to fall over and be unable to get back up on their own. That's another bad one. Meanwhile, Molly is almost done installing the new computer, with Harry standing by from the crew. Now, they just need to do a self-test to make sure everything is going to work here. Except, Houston, we have yet another problem. The booster is priming to fire, and they're not ready for that.
What the hell? Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! No! No!
Poor dumb Harry. Molly has no choice but to remove the tether for Apollo 25's command module, leaving her clinging to the outside of Apollo 24 as it races towards the moon. Oh, well, that's one problem solved, and raises another. Molly's got the fortitude not to panic, even though she's got about half an hour of oxygen left and her own ship is getting further away. And they've lost all contact with Apollo 24. Everything. All the pros get to work trying to sort out both problems. Save Molly, contact Apollo 24, get Apollo 25 back safely, and try out this new flavor of Tang. Margot has to explain to the NASA head that this is more complicated than it looks. There's a reason that rocket science is the go-to comparison for something that's really, really hard. You have numerous forces that are in play and finite fuel resources to work with. You need to make sure this is calculated to not only intercept Molly, but without stranding Apollo 25 or splattering her across the windshield. When the math can't work, Margot says they have to leave Molly. She can't justify risking 2 more lives when there's no guarantee this will even work. But Gordo won't give that order, and Tracy won't accept that order. It's not a good order as far as everyone's concerned. No one's willing to take her order today. So Gordo talks Tracy through it, but then Molly's flashlight goes out. Margot tells 25 to turn on their rendezvous lights so that Molly can see them and then instruct them on how to alter their trajectory. This causes the paths of their orbits to intersect. So that's one thing sorted out. Thank you, math. However, while saving Molly Cobb and the rest of 25 is definitely a win, word comes in that Apollo 24 is off course and is not going to enter orbit. So things are not looking good over there. But they could always get worse. I am helpless college student looking to paint house to go to college. This is a case of reaping what you sow. Ed didn't bother messing with the cosmonaut because he'd already messed with the man's rover. No way to get back to his base before he asphyxiates. So Ed lets him into the airlock.
You want to come on in, Ivan?
Uh-huh. Давай, пускай.
No, come on in.
Oh, the Ed giveth and the Ed taketh away. Did he just commit the first homicide on the moon? Let's find out in the final episode of Season 1, Episode 10.